If you spent any time at Australia's international airports recently, you may well have noticed a growing presence from the Middle East. Emirates, Qatar and Etihad are all now fighting for the potentially lucrative premium seats on long-haul flights. In September, Etihad signed a new partnership with Virgin Blue to take on Qantas. So what's happening to competition? Well, a short time ago, I spoke to James Hogan, Chief Executive of Etihad Airways. James Hogan, welcome to Late Line Business.
It's good to be here.
Well, you've been named the world's leading airline for the second year running. What's the key to this uber growth and top service? Is it this unlimited bucket of kingdom cash?
Well, the trick is, quite frankly, we have a clean sheet of paper. We're a non-legacy carrier, so in the last 7 years, we've built an airline from scratch. That means we don't have the challenges of maybe maintenance facilities or engineering facilities that may have been right 30 years ago but aren't right today. So we've been very focused on our core business. Great airline service, best in class, but then getting the cost base right. The key, with our business model is like any business to move towards an acceptable return for the shareholder. But the focus on service, on safety is fundamental.
You talk about the cost base. I mean, a couple of years ago, I think you blew all records at Farnborough, spending $43 billion on 200 new aircraft. You're yet to turn a profit, I know. How do you ensure that there is this fiscal discipline? Because you must be like a boy in a lolly shop, aren't you?
Well, like anybody who's got money, they make sure they spend their money wisely, and that's the same for my shareholder. The deal we did at Farnborough was for 100 aircraft, and that takes us from this year out to 2020 and beyond. And we have a further 100 purchase rights and options that are available if we need them. But the key to the transaction, because you get a one-off opportunity like this where you can negotiate with Boeing and Airbus for this number of aircraft. So with our other stakeholders, the aerospace industry of Abu Dhabi, with the maintenance repair overhaul facility, we in fact negotiated as one. So we got a great deal for the airline, for the aerospace industry and for our maintenance provider.
Your big development, of course, in September was your tie-up with Virgin Blue and presumably an attack on the Kangaroo route. What sort of ground are you making there?
Well, part of our business model is, in fact, a new rule book. We're not a legacy carrier, as I say. So with Virgin Blue, we're able to work our systems together. Virgin in February of next year via Australia will fly into Abu Dhabi, and they will in fact connect with our operation through to the Middle East and through to Europe. So within 2 hours we'll connect the Australian market to 24 cities outbound. Now that's good for Virgin because we give them feed through our system. At the same time, into Australia we get access to 45 cities, and we see this model of working with other airlines in a different era of aviation moving forward is one that we believe will achieve greater success.
When I spoke to Alan Joyce, Qantas' Alan Joyce, about this, he said that he was offered a similar deal with Etihad, but he didn't take it because he couldn't see how Qantas could make money. But you think Virgin would make money on this?
Well, I think that was more an issue with the joint services agreement with British Airways. In fact, when John Borghetti was at Qantas, entered into this agreement with us. And John, in his new role with Virgin Blue, sees the opportunity. Just consider, within 2.5 hours over Abu Dhabi, we're connecting to cities that have never had one-stop access between Australia, Europe, between the CIS, between the Mediterranean. That's the opportunity for the consumer, and the behaviour of consumers is changing. This is a great opportunity. It's good for trade. It's good for a number of factors, both inbound and outbound, for Australia.
Well, I think in their submission to the ACCC, Qantas and BA claimed that you, Qatar and Emirates together could be operating almost 50% of first and business class seats on the Kangaroo route by 2012. Is that how you see it?
Well, at the end of the day, the consumer will decide who wins. Now, we as a new airline, average age of our fleet is 3 years old. Our first-class product, you mentioned it, the best in the world, business class, flat beds, but our economy, we consider one of the best in the world with over 600 hours of in-flight entertainment. We're very focused on our service proposition, our lounges, our facilities, our frequent flyer programs, and this link up with Virgin in Australia links the frequent flyer programs together, and that's good news for the corporate travel travellers also.
You mentioned the 100 aircraft that you bought. Some of those were A380s. Now, you've bought not the Rolls-Royce engine, but the GE engines. How serious a problem do you think this current Rolls-Royce engine problem is?
Look, I'm not close enough to this current issue, but Rolls-Royce are a world-class organisation. They're tackling the issues, and it's a great aircraft. I've got no doubt the engine issues will be resolved, and they'll move forward.
All right. Well, there are also other woes potentially ahead in Europe. We've got worries about Ireland, Greece again, and America isn't out of the woods. How do you see the international aviation market over the next 12 months?
Look, aviation executives are used to working in cyclical climates and adapting accordingly. Nevertheless, what we are seeing is out of the US, our traffic out of New York and Chicago into the Middle East is strong. Our traffic out of India and China, our passenger and cargo traffic is, quite frankly, at record levels. Coming out of Southeast Asia into the Gulf, out of Indonesia, Malaysia, we're seeing very strong traffic, and that's mainly economy traffic. And out of Australasia, we're seeing good premium and economy traffic. The softness has more been Europe. Nevertheless, we see markets like Dublin, where we operate 10 times a week, Brussels, we operate daily, coming into the Gulf. They're fairly strong.
So you're not going to see any weakness from Dublin, you don't think?
That's quite interesting. 80% seat factor. We're seeing an improvement in yields. The Irish people are travelling. You can form an opinion on that. But what we are seeing is that the premium traffic is coming back, which is promising.
All right, James Hogan, I thank you very much for joining us here in Australia.
Thank you for your time.